So this is a video about helping you buying your first casino affiliate domain. And this is the absolutely first thing that you do once you decide to get started with casino affiliation. And it feels like a lot of people are kind of overcomplicating the whole aspect of like buying their first domain, and they're putting a lot of thought into it and going back and forward through a lot of different approaches or aspects and things that obviously, of course, is very good to keep in mind when you buy a domain, but it shouldn't be overcomplicated either, because it's actually not that important to have the most perfect domain. But I also know that once you buy a domain, you're going to kind of be stuck with it for as long as you have the website. So I know it's kind of like a big decision. But in this video, I'm going to go through some very easy and simple things that you can keep in mind when you buy your first domain that can actually help you a lot in your decision making. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will be confident enough to actually go and buy your first domain. Because buying a domain today, I think it's actually a very good thing for you, because for one, it's very cheap. You will only pay around $10 or €10 or whatever for a .com domain, but it helps you with something called a micro commitment. So once you have your domain, it kind of like triggers signals in your brain that you've actually like got started. So maybe you're going to think to yourself like, yeah, now I've got started, now I have to move on to step 2. So maybe this is a great way for the ones of you that are kind of on the sidelines and are still like in the very long planning phase of even get started. But also remember that the idiot doer is always going to be more successful than the genius planner. So my role in this is, I guess, to make you a bit less of an idiot and actually get started with a domain that you like. So we're going to go through some information, then I'm going to go through some examples. Then I'm also actually going to try to figure out some good domain names that I'm not going to buy. So if you're early in this video and if you like some of the domain names I come up with, maybe you can just kind of steal them. It's fine for me. I'm not going to buy them anyway. So let's go into the PowerPoint slide. So here we have it. Let's buy a domain and get started. Because I didn't only create this video because I want you to learn how to buy a domain. I actually want you to buy a domain like after this video, because it's so easy. You just kind of sign up and you find a domain, you just kind of press buy. And even if you don't like the domain you buy today, you can just buy another one tomorrow, because it's basically the cost of 2 cups of coffee. And obviously we have to know what the domain is, and this is probably very basic for many of you, but it's the address where internet users can access your website. And in the beginning, we didn't really have domain names. This is actually something that was created by domain registers to make it easier for users to remember, because in the beginning it was just like a bunch of numbers and IP addresses that were like set up in different registers. So adding like letters to the numbers made it way easier for people to just remember the domain names. That's why it says that it's a unique identifier, because before internet was only working with identifiers and not like names. And obviously the functionality is for people to be able to access your website and also to remember your website and also to trust your website, to know what it's about. And you've probably heard me talk about these 3 different types of domain names in my previous videos. We have exact match domains, we have semi-branded domains, and we have branded domains. And in my examples later, I'm going to go through all 3 of these. But I just wanted to point out that, at least according to me, there are 3 ways to create a domain. And we're also going to talk a bit about exact match domains, because they're actually pretty interesting. And there's a lot of different opinions and views on if you should use an EMD or not. But at least these are the 3 ones that we're going to talk about. And a domain name from an SEO standpoint, because obviously we buy a domain because we need a name for our website, but there are also some few SEO aspects that we might have to consider when we buy our name. And the first one is exact match domains. And an exact match domain is basically if you want to rank for online casino bonus, you basically just use onlinecasinosbonus.com. And obviously there's so many variations of this. Let's say you want to rank for quick deposit casinos in Canada, you can rank for quickdepositcasinoscanada.com. And people are using this a lot in order to basically have your keywords in your domains to rank faster. And while I think that this still works, this is an approach for me that is kind of boring. You don't actually create anything. You don't create anything valuable. You don't have like a brand. You don't have anything that makes people remember your website. And it's harder for me to just go up to a friend and say, hey, you want to visit my website? It's no deposit fees with bonuses in the UK.com. It's, I mean, it's not that fun to like have a website like that, at least according to me. But obviously everything here I'm talking about is very subjective. It's basically just based on what people like and what people don't like. But this is an approach that people can take, is using exact match domains. And Google themselves are trying to sometimes debunk things that people are talking about. And the Google Webmaster Trend Analyst, Gary Ilse, mentions that there is no inherent problem with EMDs unless they're used with other spammy tactics. And I think that's the thing, because people that are using these exact match domains, I think they are way more prone to using other types of like black hat strategies, such as like link spamming and cloaking or whatever. So usually that goes a bit hand in hand. And like I wrote here, EMDs can provide a quick SEO boost, but they may limit long-term growth and branding, especially branding, because a brand-focused domain is generally more adaptable and beneficial for a long-term growth. Because what you do with an exact match domain is also that you're limiting yourself a lot for just a specific type of keywords or a specific type of niche. For example, if you're ranking for minimum deposit casinos and you suddenly just starting to add like maximum deposit casinos or whatever, it kind of doesn't really make any sense for you to have that. So let's say you get one of these EMD domains and you're like super successful, and then you want to start like doing other things and you can't because you're very limited to your domain. I also had this conversation actually the other day about EMDs, and people say, yeah, I only see a lot of EMD domains ranking in the top in the search results. But I think it's kind of like a fallacy, because a lot of the people that were very early in casino affiliate marketing, I think they kind of just scooped up all of these domains. Let's say onlinecasinoscanada.com, for example. Everyone that wants to get into the Canadian market wants this domain. So it makes a lot of sense that the person that bought this domain was very early when it comes to casino affiliation. So I think that's more of the reason that why these websites are ranking higher, because they were very early and they have a lot of age and they have a lot of trust, and they probably have a huge backlink profile. And they've just been around longer than other websites. So I think that's one of the main reasons we see a lot of these EMD domains in the search results. I don't think it's just mainly because they are EMD domains. Keep in mind that it's over like 200 identified ranking factors. So just focusing on a domain and you're thinking that as soon as I have an EMD domain, I'm just going to be automatically successful. It can actually blind you a bit, thinking that, oh, I mean, I have this exact match domain and I'm still not ranking, so what am I doing wrong? Yeah, so this was my small rant about EMD domains. Then again, I think I have some EMD domains, or at least like partial match domains, so I'm not against it at all. I just think that the focus that people are putting on EMD domains are too high. You just like buy a domain and just get on with it and start focusing on all of the other ranking factors that there are out there. And personally, I like to have a branded domain. It's more fun. The next thing we're going to talk about is expired domains. And I quickly want to caution you that this is not an area that I am at all expert in. I've never really, dabbled with expired domains because I don't like it. I mainly don't like it because I don't think there's a place for expired domains in this industry. I don't think it makes sense for people to buy expired domains, because this is the wrong way of building a website and this is the wrong way of creating a business. And the main reason people are buying them is because they come with an existing backlink profile and also like a historical online presence, which can help you like give you a head start in SEO. So let's say you buy an old domain that has like tons of backlinks and like good age and everything, and then you want to create a casino comparison website on top of it. Obviously, I've seen a lot of people like succeed with this, but then they have a super weird domain name that is suddenly starting to like compare different casinos. So for me, this is not something that is kind of resonating with me. I want to buy my own domain, I want to name it, and I want it to be like clean from everything, because there's also some drawbacks that can come with buying these expired domains, and they can be very expensive. But you can buy a super expensive expired domains that come with a bunch of backlinks, but then all of a sudden Google has like a core update and a lot of these backlinks just doesn't hold the same value as they once did, and the domain just loses a lot of the value. But you basically don't have any overview of the backlinks that the domain have because you haven't purchased them yourself. Let's say there was like a huge private blog network, a PBN, connected to this domain that just kind of just like shuts down, and you lose like 70% of your links and you don't know why. So that's the thing, you don't really have a control over an expired domains when you buy it. And they also can carry some penalties, both manual penalties and also penalties that might not have been explained to you by Google. Usually this is something that you can see if these are manual penalties, but there's other sorts of penalties that Google can give you that you are not aware of. So I think my final take on expired domains is that the money that you spend on an expired domains could be much more well spent on buying good content and also buying few really high quality backlinks for your website. And Google is kind of hammering down on like expired domains abuse and site reputation abuse, which I'm going to show you here. And this is actually something recent that Google updated their spam policies. And they actually did this not too long ago with the scaled content abuse. Basically, when people are just spamming like shitty AI content on their website, just creating like thousands of URLs daily. But they also added like the expired domain abuse here and the site reputation abuse. So it's actually going to become kind of like a civil war in the search results, where people are just going to start mainly just reporting each other. But it's actually pretty easy for Google to see if someone is abusing an expired domain, because they can very easily see it in the history of the domain. Even like me or someone else that finds a website in the search result can see that it's an expired domain, because you can just go into the history of the traffic of the domain and what you can see when it was dropped. You can even see in like Time Machine tools how the website looked like a couple of years ago. So you're not very safe buying an expired domain. But then again, like I said, this is not my area of expertise. This is just my like 2 cents on expired domains. So I'm not going to talk about it too much on my channel or in my course or in my community. The last thing I want to talk about is to buy a domain for your purpose, because you have to understand that the domain name is one of the reasons why someone would choose to click on your result in the search results, because they want to be able to like trust the domain and what the domain is actually stands for. This actually ties a bit into the expired domain thing, because if someone has like the title or the meta title of like compare best online casinos in the UK and the domain name is like something that is super weird, maybe they will not click on this one and maybe they would click on another option that looks like, this domain might know more about like what they're talking about. So we want to have a domain where people can kind of understand that this website is going to help me with like recommendations. So I'm also trying to help the searchers to understand that your domain is not like an operator domain. You don't want it to sound like you're an operator. You want it to sound like you are actually like a recommendation website or a comparison website or like a bonus site and not an actual casino. I think that is something that is good to keep in mind. And then you have to choose based on your market. And I would say at like 99% of the cases, you want to go with a .com domain, because this is like universally trusted in the whole world. Obviously, in some countries, they might go for like .com.br or .ee or .se or whatever country you're in. But the safest bet by far in order to protect yourself from getting shut down from a government or whatever is to go for the .com option. It actually happened to me myself that a registrar like wrote to me and said, we know that you're on this geo-specific domain, so in case like the government reaches out to us and say that you're promoting casinos in this country, we have the right to shut you down, because it's like within the government's right to shut website down if you have using a geo-specific domain. So you try to stick with .com domains or something cool that .online or whatever you want, and try to stay away from all of these geo-specific domains, especially like the US one. Like never use this one for casino. And it's the same thing here with the relevance. For example, if you want a website about like live gambling or whatever, and you have like livedealers.com or something, that would make a lot of sense. But then it might be harder for you to maybe like push slot games or whatever. I mean, obviously it's still possible, but this is why I like branded domains, because they keep your options way more open compared to if you do something that is very narrow, especially when it comes to also naming your domain in different languages. So even if you're targeting Spain and you feel like maybe in the future you want to branch out to a new country, maybe having a domain name in Spanish is not the best idea. But maybe if you want to like focus all of Latin America, maybe then having like Spanish in your domain name could be like a good option for you. So this is just some things to consider, because the domain is actually setting the boundaries of what you can do with your website. And here I created a checklist to get started. So if you want, maybe you can screenshot this or pause or whatever and read this. So what we're going to do is we're going to select like the most suitable top level domain, which is basically .com. Then research some popular and relevant keywords. And we mainly do this in case we want to have an exact match domain or like a semi-branded domain where you mix like a keyword with something that you make up yourself. And the third one is to consider the length of your domain. Google don't want you to have like super long domains, so keep it as short as you can. And for me, like avoiding numbers, hyphens, or like special characters, either it's going to be confusing for the person to remember the name of your domain, or like special characters, like in Sweden we have like OÄ, which is like O with 2 dots, or like an A with like 1 dot or 2 dots. It's going to look very weird in the search result if you don't have these letters, especially like in the URL. It's going to look pretty weird. So try to avoid these also. Also, like in Spanish and in Portuguese, they have a lot of things about the letters and, Polish and whatever. And also like ensure the domain name is easy to pronounce and spell. And remember my accountants, they created a website, and it was so hard for me to remember the name of the website, because it was basically like 4 like consonants and like no vowels or anything. So I always had to go into my emails to find their website, because I never could remember what it was called. So try to find something that, let's say someone went to your website and the day after, maybe they want to go back. So if they can remember what the name of your website were pretty easily, I think that could be a really good thing. It would also help you in terms of SEO with like direct traffic, people going straight to the browser and just typing your domain in. And also, like I mentioned before, consider the potential for future growth if you want to expand to new markets or new territories or new areas. So even if you already decided that you have a website that you only want to target 200% bonuses, You don't have to have that in the domain. You can still do all of that stuff, but if you're opening the possibility of like expanding your domain in the future, you can do so much more with your domain. So this is something that it's like pretty nice to consider. Then we go to like a domain registrar and just register our domain and see if it's like available. So let's go back into Word and let's do some experimenting. Okay, an example for an exact match domain is bestonlinecasinos.com. And an example for a semi-branded is CasinoFinder.com. You can see here we have the keyword and we also have Finder, which makes people understand that, yeah, on this website you can find casinos. We can also use like Casino Mix, Casino Mixer, Casino Mix. Maybe people understand that here is like a lot of casinos. Another one is, for example, you can use animals. Let's use bonus sharks. Could be a good option. And then you can have a logo of like a shark that is like eating a bonus or something. Another one could be Free Spins Detective, which is actually pretty nice. Let's see if this one is available. Let's see here. Oh, Free Spins Detectives is available. I mean, obviously it's not the best one, but it's a bit fun maybe. So, and like also like what do we have more? We have the detective guy, the Sherlock bonus. Let's see if this one is available. Yeah, let's go. I actually like the Sherlock bonus. So these are some examples of the semi-branded ones. Maybe we can do some more later. But we can also do the branded ones. It can be like a mix of the word casino or bonus or whatever, but you kind of like change a letter. Let's say casivo.com. It already exists, but it's a good example. I know also like boyoko.com. I mean, I've seen this website so much, I know that it's about casinos, but it actually doesn't really, at least according to me, have anything to do with casino. But it sounds pretty nice. You have like askgamblers.com. It's like a huge name, but I also like the domain name. So it could be anything basically. It could be Adam Spins. It's me. I mean, spins a lot. Pretty fun. I think it already exists. Maybe this is a bit more semi-branded, but it's actually not like a keyword in the same way, spins. But okay, let's make something with bonus. Let's say you find bonus.com. It would be pretty cool. I mean, it's not a keyword, but it's very nice. I mean, obviously this one is not available. It's not like Sherlock bonus. So these are some good example of like branded ones. There's like semi-branded one and EMDs. I mean, you can do whatever you want with the EMDs. Just like look around for the ones that you like. I would like try to land somewhere here. I think all of the domains I buy basically is like somewhere here around. So let's go back and see if we can find any more cool domains that you can steal or use. Let's try bonus, baby. Okay, you see here also, like, I mean, if you find one that is like available here, it's like a premium one. So they're actually selling it from Namecheap. So obviously this is, so you can buy this one for 3.9K if you want. And I don't think this one has any like history. So what you can do if you want to see if a website has history is you can go to Ahrefs or something similar and like, you can write bonusbaby.com and to see if it has been used at any point in time. Oh, this is like an empty website. Right, so let's find something else. Bonus baby. This one is free. I mean, it's like shit, but I mean, yeah, if you like this, you can use it. But let's say you like cats, so you can use like paw spins. Pretty nice, actually. Yeah, you can buy pawspins.com. So let's buy pawspins.com and you can create like, I don't know, whatever you want with it. Or casino cats. Okay, it was also pretty expensive. See if you want something else. Let's try bonus sharks. Obviously, it's not available. Yeah, it was. All right, bonus sharks. It's an animal. Okay, so let's see if we can find like a good branded one. It kind of just like comes to you after a while. Maybe you can use like ChatGPT or something to find like a good list of domains. Or maybe we do the generator. Okay, so the generator didn't work, so let's end this video instead. One thing I also wanted to mention quickly was that I've seen a lot of people that they want to enter like a specific market, and let's say they want to enter Brazil and they think that it's the best idea ever to like find like a Senor Pedro domain and just use like a toucan as logo and make it like super culturally inappropriate. I mean, of course you can do that also, but if you're like a Swedish guy like me and doesn't know anything about like Brazilian culture and just think that that is what they want, maybe we should try to think again, because as a Swedish person and someone bought like vikingbonus.com and just added like a huge Viking hat and an elk, for example, that would not really like impress me that much. That's something also that you can keep in mind, that try to speak for the country that you are targeting, but also maybe don't do it too much just because you think that that's what they want. And I really hope that this video didn't confuse you, but I just wanted to create this video because I want you to take the first step into actually buying your first domain. Because once you've bought your first domain, you have actually something, you know, to be a bit proud of. You have a domain, and after that, maybe you can start hooking it up to a website and you can start building your first affiliate website. That would be pretty cool for you and for me, for helping you. I just also wanted to quickly mention a new update in the community, because I've added here under our resources in the course in the community, where I'm actually starting to split my time from creating free YouTube content to creating exclusive new content for the community members. For example, here I create a video on what market you should start in if you're unsure of what market would fit you the best, and also a bit about regulations, things that could be good to be aware of before you get started. So obviously I'm still going to post a lot on YouTube, but I'm also want to give my members like also new and fresh and updated content parallel to, I mean, obviously the whole course, and it's like 50 videos already. So that was my quick update on that also. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I can see you in the next one. Bye.